This is a special edition of WeatherScope with the latest winter storm update.
Well, good afternoon to you. We're here at the Weather Channel Forecast Center as we continue to follow another storm up the East Coast. This one that we're following today is nothing like the big ones we saw earlier this season of the winter of 95-96, although with this storm in itself, another record setter. We can tell you about that record that was set around New York City. First of all, here's the history of our storm. The dots indicating the cities that have set seasonal snowfall records at Washington, D.C., at Dulles, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, Hartford, and over to Providence, all looking at the snowiest season on record. Right around New York City, you set your record today for snow. So early this morning, we did see some snow. That snow has now ended. Low pressure associated with this storm now off of Long Island. This storm is heading northward toward the Canadian Maritimes, and even by tonight around Boston, probably this evening, the snow will really let up and possibly end. So we're looking for that heavy snow that is falling around Boston now to taper off quickly by this evening. Then that's when the drier weather comes in. We can show you some of the latest information that we have in some of the scenes from New York City. Earlier today it was snowing. The record is still way on up there, about another foot to reach that record. Just another annoyance as another weekend storm makes its way through the area. I think we've all stopped counting how many storms have made their way into the vicinity of Friday afternoon or into Saturday. Seems like that's each time when we see these storms hit. At New York City, here are some of the numbers. About 66 inches of snow for the season as of 1 o'clock. That broke the record back in 47 and 48. That was, we should say, was most ever at New York City. At Boston, still most ever just a few years ago, 93, 94, at over 96 inches. So far, about 83 and a half inches, but we are adding to that total officially 2 inches of additional snow at Boston. So we are looking at some additional snow coming in today. Around Wrightstown, the most that we've tallied so far in south central New Jersey, about 9 inches. New York City, 5. Philadelphia, 4 inches of snow. Baltimore, 3. Our satellite photograph showing us the story. This does not look like a classic storm by any means where we see that classic swirl to the pattern. You can see how the moisture is all mostly off the coast here, and that is steadily making its way up the coast. Actually, the back edge of the precipitation now making its way through New York City. We have cloudy skies at New York, even a couple breaks here and there, but overall just a dry evening. We do see some more snow in western Pennsylvania. That's associated with an Arctic front coming in. That probably will not do much to the weather around New York, Philadelphia, or Baltimore, or Boston. Notice where the snow line is. It's halfway through Massachusetts and Connecticut. The snow will be ending rather quickly. Our Doppler radar out of Boston showing where the heaviest snow continues to be, down to around Falmouth. Actually, at least 2 to 3 inches have fallen already. And the snow forecast, we are looking for still some heavy amounts across coastal areas of New Hampshire into southern Maine. Then this storm will be over with, and I think that will make us all very happy to see this one out of the picture. With a complete look at today's forecast, let's head back into the studio.
Okay, Rich, thanks. Let's take a look at that forecast. We've talked a lot about snow, and we'll see if there's any snow in the next couple of days in our future for our first Monday of March. Well, first of all, the current map, again, showing us our low-pressure system with its trailing front, now pushing on into southern Florida. So where you saw a little sunshine earlier today in Miami, all right, now we've got all the rains in there, down to Key West, some thunderstorms rumbling around. And as this front pushes on out, conditions will begin to improve. As a matter of fact, the sun is out across the panhandle of Florida and into north central Florida as well. All right, here's that Arctic frontal boundary with real cold air behind it, as you would guess if we call it an Arctic frontal boundary. Temperatures ranging from the single digits back through Minnesota to the teens and some 20s even, closer in through Nebraska and Missouri. Temperatures actually, though, when you factor in the wind, it feels like minus 40 degrees in the Twin Cities and up to Duluth and Sioux Falls. It really does feel cold on your skin. So if you're going to be heading outside Saturday night, planning a little dinner and movie, you're going to want to be bundled up this evening. Certainly on the roads with blowing snow a problem. You want to be very careful overnight. Well, Sunday morning, as promised, here goes that front. Pushes on out into the Florida Straits.
This is a special edition of WeatherScope with the latest winter storm update.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Sharon Resulton here at the Weather Channel Update Desk in Atlanta, Georgia, here to update you on our latest winter storm of 1996, once again affecting the northeastern part of the country. This one not nearly, I should say, as crippling, easy for me to say, a storm as some of its predecessors, but it has once again brought some nuisance snows just in time for the weekend for folks in the northeast. Here's a look at it from a surface perspective, and you can actually see where some of the snow is. A lot of the heavier stuff is now moving on up into coastal areas of Maine and working on out of the Boston area. That is actually some good news. We've had some significant snows south of Boston, actually around North Dartmouth, report of 11.5 inches of brand new fresh fallen snowfall just today. But our own Jeff Morrow is standing live in Boston, and he says not quite so bad up there in Beantown, right, Jeff?
Yeah, probably about half of what you just said there. That 11.5 is pretty surprising. That sounds like the most we've heard of so far from this storm. But you know what, Sharon? With this winter, it really isn't anything that the folks in the Northeast haven't already experienced many times this winter. This scene has become a regular occurrence in New England during the winter of '96. People battling the snow. New York on Saturday broke a record which had stood for 48 years. This season, over 64 inches of snow has fallen in Central Park. Traffic and pedestrians around Times Square once again had to battle through the elements. By mid-morning, the snow moved into New England, and residents had to cope with a slushy start to the weekend.
Oh, actually, we love the snow. If you're a snow lover, you're going to love this kind of a winter. It's just been a fabulous winter for snow.
Kids have been sledding and doing a lot more winter activities than they had in the past couple of years, so it's been great.
There was more snow in Boston today, but it still didn't produce a seasonal record. If you put all the snow for the season together, it would probably stack up to about this line on the pole. But to reach the record of 96.5 inches for a season, it would have to reach all the way to the top of the pole. This storm moved through the area quickly, so the amount of snow was not quite as great as recent storms. But one resident summed up the feelings of most Northeasterners.
I hate snow. I'm sick of this. No more snow, please.
Well, even though it isn't a record quite here yet, I guess we're within about 9 inches of the seasonal record in Boston. I think the sentiments of that person pretty much echoed by most of the people that we've seen today. They're pretty much ready for spring, Sharon.
And Jeff, while the snow may be tapering off, problems on the roadways may not, because temperatures are only going to get colder tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, we have that big, strong cold front, that clipper moving in from the west. That's really going to drop the temperature readings the next 24 hours. And it looks like all the slush on the roads here that people are driving through rather easily now could become very icy tonight and during the day tomorrow. So it's definitely something that folks are going to have to contend with.
Okay, Jeff, thanks again. We're going to check with you in another half hour. We've had some record-breaking snows as we work our way on into other parts of the Northeast. A brand new record set in New York City, 65.7 inches in New York City as a result of this brand new snow. And these other winter snow records actually set, believe it or not, with the previous storms. Some pretty hefty amounts. There's a look at Boston, as Jeff alluded to, still a ways away from the record, but as I said, there's still 2.5 weeks left in winter, and just about anything can happen. Satellite picture showing most of the enhanced clouds now pushing on out. That's the good news. We've got another system poised to move on in, and this next system will bring perhaps some more snow and definitely some much colder air moving in as it swiftly pulls in quickly behind its predecessor. There's a look at the radar picture. The snow has ended in Worcester. The snow is over now in Hartford. Boston, as you could tell where Jeff was standing, lightening up considerably, but still looking at the potential around here for seeing another 3 to 6 inches as we head into portions of Maine. And once again, here's a look at your snowfall outlook. Still seeing some significant snows in portions of northern New England. Do want to focus your attention on this area. Watch out around Oswego County and Jefferson County as you work your way into upstate New York. Not all of that particular lake there is frozen over. So portions of Lake Ontario still wide open, and with much colder air moving in over the lake, we're going to be talking about significant snows, possibly a foot or more, perhaps from Watertown back down toward Pulaski on Sunday. We're going to take you into studio now. Jean's standing by to give you the full forecast details for the remainder of your weekend.
Thank you, Sharon. Before we look at the forecast, let's see what else is going on around the country. Of course, the big storm in the northeast, Sharon just detailed. We also have a strong low pressure area ushering in some very cold air and some heavy snows out ahead of it now. You can see the big swirl in the clouds around that low pressure area moving across the eastern Great Lakes at this time. Another low pressure area starting to bring some light rains and snows, and they will increase in intensity and aerial coverage in the northwest and northern California over the next couple of days. But the south and southwest, nice and clear. You can see high pressure dominating. This is a very cold Arctic high pressure. We're talking wind chills. We'll show you those in just a moment. In parts of Minnesota, 40 to 50 below zero right now. But here's the Arctic frontal system. Heavier snows out ahead of it. We'll jump to that area of the country in just a second. First, let's go to the west right now and see that there's not too much going on. One little dashed purple line is sort of a Columbus, Ohio. Behind the front, with those cold winds blowing across the relatively warm waters of Lake Superior in Michigan, we're getting some very heavy snows. Around Lansing, you've received about 4 to 6 inches. You could get another 2 to 4 inches. Lighter snows around Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now, back to Rochester, Minnesota. But we'll take a look at the cold temperatures, the wind chills in just a second. I want to show you those showers of snow moving through Cleveland, passing through Columbus. They had heavy snow about an hour ago. So as this band moves to Pittsburgh, parts of West Virginia, you're going to get a band of heavy snow that could last a couple of hours later tonight. Let's look at the temperatures around the country to give you an idea how cold it is behind that cold front. Indeed, 0 degrees, Goose Egg there in Minneapolis, 5 degrees only in Green Bay, Wisconsin. As we look at those winds.
And you had some pretty good snowfalls, especially right along the coast, and that's what this storm was. It was a definite coastal back in the interior from the Catskills back through the Poconos. Not even a flake. Here are some specific totals. Wrightstown getting 9, that's some of the suburbs in north and western New York City. And Narragansett, which is in Rhode Island, getting about 11 inches. Some of the suburbs around Boston getting up to a foot of snowfall. Boston officially 4. And these are your record-breaking winter snows. Now, as Jeff mentioned, New York City, you broke your record today. These other numbers were already, the other records. Middle of the country is quiet. The western weather is pretty quiet right now. A few areas of rain and
thunder snow being reported at Johnstown up to Du Bois. We're seeing a pretty heavy band of showers, snow showers rolling on through. And this lake effect snow will kick in tonight as well. So watch out some of the lake effect areas. Erie, we'll see a little bit, but more likely up toward Lake Ontario up in Oswego County, New York. Well, here's what's happening.
Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program with Cecily Tynan, Phil Andrews, and Rob Jennings.
To a snowy reminder that spring is still almost 3 weeks away. This winter's all too familiar calling card covered the region in white once again today. South Jersey felt the brunt of the fast-moving storm. As much as 8 inches fell in some places. The Harvey family broke out the snow gear and hit the driveway early in Marlton. The snow was very wet, which made it very heavy to shovel, but fun to build a snowman. And down at the shore, the common attitude is simple. Enough already. Jason Foreman moved from Philadelphia to Brigantine thinking winter would be friendlier.
Think you're going to move to the shore and get away from the snow? You might be dead wrong. Because this is not the resort town it should be.
But at least a few people are glad to see more snow, and when winter ends, so will the free sled rides for this little guy. Well, the storm dumped a couple of inches around Philadelphia. Snow clung to trees, benches, and just about everything else in Fairmount. But the winter scenery did not seem to bother rowers who ventured out on the Schuylkill River. And drivers who hit the roads this morning had few problems. The plows were out before dawn, and by daybreak, streets were pretty much clear. Now, down in Delaware, just enough snow fell to become a nuisance. The big question now, is this the last of the snow? Cecily Tynan will be along later on in this newscast, and she will have the very latest from AccuWeather.
The snow in Ben Salem, 7 inches. Wynwood, 9 inches of snow. New Jersey definitely got hit the hardest from the system. Also in Wilmington, 3 inches. Blackwood, New Jersey, 7 inches. And Wrightstown, New Jersey, 9 inches of snow. Now we have some more snow heading our way, but it should be breaking up before it gets to the Delaware Valley, thankfully. This is a very strong push of Arctic air, and it's actually bringing some thunder snow to western Pennsylvania. Action radar shows a system, that line basically cutting the state in half. As we put this into motion, you can see how it's picking up the moisture from the Great Lakes, bringing in the lake effect snow, some very heavy snow. This system will continue to push to our neck of the woods, and that means early tomorrow morning, Probably some flurries north and west of Philadelphia. A possibility of a light dusting of snow. You can see how most of this is snow as you work down into the Virginia as it begins to mix with the rain. But the big story is the cold air behind this. Tomorrow